good evening, everybody. Kevin Crouch here with South Metro Weather. We've got a bit to talk about here, and I know that on social media right now is everything from, the sky is going to fall next weekend to don't believe any of it and pay attention to nothing. You've got extremes on both sides, and what I intend to do this evening is simply show you what we're seeing. What is all the commotion about, right? Um, yeah, we're still, 6 days away. And, at this point, there's still plenty to, oh, don't do that. There's still plenty to digest, plenty to watch with this. And, at the top, of course, we're going to talk about the rain chances for the midweek, and that will kind of be, I think, an appropriate precursor to the conversation about next weekend. So let's first look at where we're at right now. Temperatures are in the 40s and 50s. We'll get down to the low 30s overnight tonight. I don't think we have to drip any faucets overnight tonight. For the most part, we're going to be in the low 30s. There may be some upper 20s out there, but we're not going to get as cold as we did last night. So I don't think we have to worry about dripping those faucets overnight tonight. I think we're good to go. Let's just get straight into kind of what to watch for the next few days. And let me just get transitioned right over to the display capture. Here we go. So this is what we're going to be looking at. I'm just going to use pivotal weather because it's easier to go across the board to all the different models that way. But this is what we're going to be watching over the next several days here. First, we have this rain coming in on Wednesday. And this is just another one of these weather systems that looked pretty impressive at the, 5, 6, 7 day mark. And then as we've gotten closer, it's not looking as impressive. We're going to have a disturbance that's going to pass through, and this is actually going to be another one of these events where we will be sort of on the kind of the edge. It's looking like, at least. And so let me show you kind of what I'm talking about there. So this is the European model, and you can see right as we get to early Wednesday morning, this is looking like an early Wednesday deal, maybe the first half of the day. So at least as far as the European model is concerned. Now this is 12 p.m. So again, maybe, early morning Wednesday through the first half of the day, I think is going to be our best chance of rain. And as we go through the day, you can see, don't get too caught up in what the colors look like and that sort of thing. It's a little early to be talking about, what kind of intensity or whatever will we be looking at. But as, we get through the day and into early Thursday morning, it's all moved east. Now, I will tell you, this looked much more widespread across the state of Texas a few days ago. And now it's looking like, I still think, 40% is fair. If this continues, if we continue to see, the cutoff further north of us, I may bump that back up to 50% tomorrow. I think 40% is fair for right now, but I'll continue to kind of see what that looks like. But for Wednesday, I would expect kind of a chilly rain all day. Not really thinking we're going to see a lot of thunderstorms or a lot of kind of that sort of thing. But yeah, I mean, a chilly rain, I think, is appropriate for a Wednesday. Just to kind of show you context on this, let's go over to the Canadian model. And again, you can see it looks like one of these, we've seen these already several times, where you progress and everything kind of starts here and then it gets heavier east of us. This has already happened 2 or 3 times this season. And it just seems like we cannot get away from that little tendency there. So, just for the sake of showing multiple models, and that was the Canadian model only runs every 12 hours. And the same thing with the UK model. Kind of blows up here and then gets heavier farther east. So I don't mean to be disappointing here with the Wednesday rain, but I don't expect a lot of heavy rain here. I expect us to get some rain and then for that to probably be heavier as it goes east of us. So that is the kind of the quick chat about the Wednesday disturbance. But again, that kind of helps to illustrate what I'm going to be talking about with the weekend rain chances or possibly winter precipitation chances. As I said at the top, we have seen everything from don't believe anything you read anywhere. It's, only believe us or don't believe us even, or just, all of that. And interestingly enough, a lot of it's coming from pages that usually have no problem with that, but I think they're trying to kind of walk this fine line between, usually they jump on top of it, but this time everybody beat them to it. So now they're trying to be different by taking the other position. If you were in my chair and saw things from the angle that I do, it's really funny sometimes to kind of watch and see where everybody falls on this. I think I've been pretty consistent with, if I'm going to show you something beyond that's farther. Number one, this is within my forecast period. So I'm going to talk about what's in the forecast, right? This will be addressed directly in tomorrow morning's forecast, and it's within the 7 days. So it's within the parameters that I normally give you anyway. But I'm usually not going to talk about it unless I can give you, more context and more perspective, which is what we're going to do. So I'm going to start with the GFS model, and this is the American model. This is the farthest. This is the model that goes the farthest out that I usually use. There's one that goes farther, and I think that it's, close your eyes, turn around 6 times, and try to hit a dartboard. That's pretty much what it is. It's just really out there. I usually don't find any use for it. But the GFS model, first of all, that Wednesday rain, same thing we're seeing across the board. Kind of blows up here and then moves east. In fact, the GFS model is even less generous with areas east of us with that Wednesday rain. But here's what everybody's looking at. First, you see the front coming through. This is Friday evening. So the front is making its way through, and there's a few pieces that I want to talk about here. A few sort of variables that I'm watching. So we see the front moving through, and then as the cold air sinks in and the moisture from this other disturbance that will kind of follow the front makes its way through, we have now, just so you're aware, you can kind of see the legend down here. That's freezing rain. So your freezing line essentially is here. So your freezing rain in the orange, sleet in the pink, snow in the blue. Now, it's never that clear cut, okay? There is never, in winter weather, at least not here, I don't know about anywhere else, but here, it's never, this area is all sleet and this area is all snow. We always get a mixture, right? We always get kind of a mix. So this is what we're seeing. So, it's number one, this is going to feel a little familiar because here in north central Texas, we seem to live in any of these winter events. We seem to live right on that line of frozen precipitation and snow. And it seems to always it's like a bobber when you're fishing, it's just kind of floating there. And it's never really very generous to us. Well, this looks like about the same thing. This looks more like we'll get, frozen precipitation, ice, that kind of thing. And I've seen a few discussions really say the same thing. So that's the GFS model. Now, the course that I usually go through is I see what the GFS model says. Okay, the GFS model, a lot of the time, in my experience, is the more liberal and not politically liberal, obviously, but more liberal, more generous, more aggressive model that I see. The European model, by contrast, sometimes is the more conservative and the less aggressive model. So let's go take a look at that. So hang with me. Don't look at one and go, hang with me here. This is all context. So again, the front moves through. The other thing I'm going to be watching here, aside from the probabilities of the winter precipitation, I'm going to be watching the chance for storms on the front end of this. I want to see what kind of storm probabilities we're looking at for the front end of it, along the front itself, the cold front. And was it last year? I think that we had a tornado watch that was followed by like a freeze warning or something like that, winter weather advisory or something like that. So, I mean, that's not unheard of by any means in our area. So, a possible area of storms ahead of all of this along the front. And this is Friday at 3 o'clock. This is Friday afternoon. This is, a strong cold front moving in during daytime heating. That's a pretty big indicator usually that we could see some storms. So that's going to be part of what I'm watching this week. But the Euro model, if we follow it, once again, we have that freezing line here. And the Euro model is usually a little more high resolution than the GFS model. So you're seeing a little bit tighter contours here. But again, plenty of freezing rain, and that orange is freezing rain. The purple, again, is sleet. The blue is snow. As per usual, Oklahoma and Kansas get more snow than we do. That's not abnormal at all. But you can see that the European model, and the other thing I'm watching here is you can see the line of storms right where the front is, but then back behind it is another disturbance following it. So by the time we get to early Sunday, I mean, we could be, and this is like pre-dawn Sunday per the European model, we could be looking at a 1-2 punch. We could get another little shot of wintry precipitation right behind this first disturbance. So that's one, and then maybe two. That's the European model. Okay. So again, you're kind of seeing how all of these different models all kind of have their take on things. And let's go to the UK model. So this is another one. That's the Wednesday rain. Like I said, kind of blows up here and then gets heavier east. This has been interesting. And this is something that kind of caught my attention too. And this is what really got me interested in the probabilities of some storms, is this thin line of storms right as the front's coming through Friday night. So that is something that I will be watching is, are we going to get a round of storms before any wintry precipitation comes through? And then the UK model as well. What's really interesting here though is just the way the moisture fills in behind the front, the way that disturbance passes through. And then this also gives us kind of a 1-2 punch of an early Sunday second disturbance kind of behind that one. So all of this is fairly heavily dependent upon certain things happening. And I want to show you too what we were looking at earlier. This is what we saw earlier. This is what we saw earlier today when everybody really started to get excited about this. And you know what? I'm going to take that live banner off for a second just so you can see all of that there. This is what we saw earlier. This is what raised my eyebrows. And this is what made me go, okay, clearly I'm going to be talking about this and everybody else in the world is going to be talking about this. So yeah, I mean, this was the consensus that we saw. And we really haven't seen a deviation from this in the last round of models. So you have to understand that these models run every 6 hours. The Canadian model runs every 12. So the next round of models is running, those are starting to gather data right now. And so over the next few hours, I'll get another look and we'll see. So the pieces of the puzzle that have to be considered here. Number one is the front itself. Does the front stay this intense and does it bring air that is that cold? That's number one. That's one ingredient. Two is the disturbance. Does the disturbance bring as much moisture as we think it will? We were just talking about the Wednesday disturbance that, was going to possibly bring, let me just put this back up here. The Wednesday disturbance that looked really impressive for the entire state. I mean, it looked like this. It was all rain, but it looked like this 7 days ago. But It didn't say that way, right? So that's another piece of the puzzle. Also, again, like I said, do we have storms on the front end? You know, and so there's so many different pieces of all of this that have to go a certain way in order to fulfill what the models are showing, fulfill what people are seeing. And we always talk about how winter weather is notoriously hard to forecast. And I mean, there's been so many times where I'll try to forecast a winter weather event, and we sit right at 33 degrees all day. I remember one, maybe a couple of years ago, where that happened. We forecasted maybe some icy roads and that kind of thing, and we sat right at 33 degrees the entire time. And I'm talking for hours. The temperature did not move. It was wild. And in fact, I think that was when I was still covering just Ellis County at that point. Something in my mouth is bothering me. I don't recall covering multiple counties at that point. So I think it was just Ellis County. But these winter storms, man, are so fickle. They are so fickle. And trying to forecast them this far out is hilarious. But when you have this much model consensus, it's pretty hard to argue with it. It's just really, really difficult to not include it. And so when we look at the Wednesday rain, again, I'm keeping that around 40-50%, right? And then for, this weekend, I don't know. I'm not putting out a forecast for the next 7 days yet. I'm going to wait until more data comes in tonight. Tomorrow morning, I'll get even more overnight data, and then I will post a 7-day forecast tomorrow morning. I can probably tell you right now that unless I see something dramatically change, I'm going to have at least a chance of a wintry mix. I'm not going to say it's going to be all sleet, it's going to be all snow. I'm nowhere near that. But we can say that we can expect at least to have some wintry precipitation mixed in. But over the next several days, expect that to change in some form or fashion, whether the front weakens and it doesn't have the intrusion of Arctic air that it's currently showing, or maybe the disturbance weakens and we see less precipitation overall. And it, depending on how much dry, the other thing too is that the reason we didn't get the reason we didn't get all of the all of the snow that was forecast or that people were trying to talk about over the last couple of days. I mean, we just had so much dry air. It was just bone dry air. That was this past Saturday. So this bone dry air, I mean, we had dew points in the single digits. Snow's not making it through that. And these cold fronts usually bring dry air. That's why winter is such a dry season for us. So if we have bone dry air at the surface, all of this is going to struggle. So there's so many different variables that can change so much in this period of time. And that's what we're going to be paying attention to. So I'm going to be watching this, and I'll just, again, reiterate. And if you have any questions, throw those in the chat, and I'll get to those here in a moment. But I want to reiterate that, you're going to see a lot about this over the next several days. You're going to see a lot of debate, a lot of argument. People are already getting upset. There are storm chasers that are already getting upset about the fact that they've posted about this, and people are complaining that they posted it. It's just, the social media weather world has been going through a conversation lately about posting this kind of stuff and who's qualified, who's not, who's reputable, who's not, what defines reputability, right? Or reliability, who can be relied upon and why, and who shouldn't be. That's the whole, and part of that conversation is an effort by some, right, to paint everybody with the same brush. And that's something that I try not to do. Um, I have my opinions about other creators, sure. And, I've been doing this for, this will be my 11th year in October that I've been doing this. Um, so, hey, and I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing. And if I've been doing this for 10 years and I get daily, and I'm not kidding, daily affirmations and thank yous from people, I'm going to keep doing it. And trust me, you guys have let me know when I've strayed, when I'm not doing what I should be doing. You guys aren't shy about letting me know. And for the most part, I've been affirmed quite a bit. So I feel pretty good about doing things the way I'm doing them. Again, I always make sure you have the context. And this whole conversation, this is doing exactly that. I just got an order for what they're called Next Gen, and I want to share something. Um, we don't normally get to talk about this much, especially this season, but we do actually have winter weather alerts on Weather Call. Now, Weather Call, we normally just talk about spring severe weather, tornadoes, severe thunderstorms, those kind of things. But Weather Call Next Gen does have blizzard warnings, ice storm warnings, wind chill warnings, lake effect warnings, and winter weather advisories. Now, I would say that far and above any of the rest is winter weather advisories. We tend to see at least a few of those in the wintertime when a storm like this is coming through. So when Weather Call Next Gen, it's not just for those spring storms. It's good for that. It's great for that. In fact, if you've watched my live streams, you've seen me demonstrate on the air how quickly you get a call after a warning is issued. And it's specifically your area. It's not one of these apps that's going to tell you, hey, it's somewhere in my county. It's your address specifically. The link to sign up for that, in fact, I'll post that here. There's a QR code on the screen, but hey, if you're watching on your phone and all you can do is click a link, the link is right there. And it does have, and you have to go in to your Weather Call account and actually turn it on. You do have to click that option. And I'm going to be sharing that over the next few days too, especially now that we have at least a possible winter storm headed our way. I'll be sharing more about this, but it's not automatically enabled. That's the thing. The severe weather stuff is, the winter stuff is not. That's because the people want that to generally be pretty well customizable, right? So I'll be sharing over the next couple of days. I'll make sure that's on the page. Hey, go in and log in and make sure you enable those winter weather advisories. The rest of the ice storm warnings and the wind chill warnings and those kinds of things, not very common here. But the winter weather advisories, normally we see those if something like this is going on. So stay tuned. We're going to keep talking about this over the next several days, and I'm going to let you know what I'm seeing. What I try to do is show you what I'm looking at so you know where the forecast is coming from. And tomorrow morning, when I publish a 7-day forecast, as we do once a day, I will let you know where we stand on that and what I'm seeing in the models. And I'll get more data between now and then. In fact, like I said, I've got more coming in now. So I'll get more data over the next few hours that I'll be looking at. John will still be wearing shorts and hoodie. Hey, I don't understand it. I really don't. But guys, at the same time, last night when it was, let me clarify that too, because last night when it was, in the low 30s, I was outside in shorts and a t-shirt. Cold weather doesn't faze me. I don't know if it's just my Scottish genes from way back when that I'm still there. I don't know if it was the years of very cold football games carrying a drum where I just desensitized to it. I don't know what it is. What confuses me about the hoodie and the shorts is not that it's cold. I can handle cold. I love cold. It's that it's cold enough for a hoodie, but not cold enough for the pants. I just, it's I think it's the mismatch that threw me for a loop there. If that's your thing, I am not the kind of person to tell anybody what to do. That is the last thing in the world that I like to do to anybody. I want people to live the way they want to live. That is a core value for me. However, it don't make no sense to me. So, but doesn't have to make sense to me to be the way you want to be. So that's, that's cool. But please understand that I'm not judging you for not being bothered by the cold. I'm not really bothered by it either. So, uh, that's on that. So now that I've probably annoyed folks, and I'm not talking about anything important anymore. Stay tuned over the next several days. We're going to talk about this, and I do expect for there to be some changes here. When we get to, this is what, Saturday? When we get to Thursday, and this is true of, when we get to tomorrow, looking at the Wednesday rain, when we get into the short term, the high resolution data, sometimes that has something completely different in store. But it's really hard not to talk about the possibilities of a weekend winter storm when we see this kind of consensus across the board. And so that's where we're at. That's what we're looking at. That's the data that we're seeing. It's just, we're seeing so much consensus this early on. That's not normally what we see. Sometimes these models never get along. But the fact that we're seeing all of them give us the same solution, but that does not change the fact that we have to watch and see what the front does. We have to watch and see what the disturbance does. And if those continue to be on the track that this is showing, we might have something. But either one of those could easily change in even the smallest ways over the next 6 days and completely change the forecast. So thank you so much, guys, for tuning in. I think somebody asked what the forecast is for the next couple of days. Tomorrow, we're going to have temperatures in the, what are we looking at for tomorrow? Like the 50s, I think. Tomorrow, mid-50s, really the next couple of days in the 50s. Tuesday evening, we may see some light showers kind of sneaking in as that disturbance gets close, and then the rain arrives on Wednesday. So again, thank you so much for watching. We're going to bring more updates on this, but I wanted to just take a little time. There's so much noise going on about it. I wanted to make sure you guys saw what I'm looking at, understood where I'm coming from. And tomorrow morning, we will have a 7-day forecast with an update on the possibility of some winter weather. About time, right? I think we're overdue. Winter weather possible for next weekend.
I don't know what it means, but there's a smile upon your face.